Hello, everybody. I am meteorologist Justin Williams here to give you your North Georgia weather forecast. Let's take you on through what I see on the satellite imagery. So we have some storms starting to flare up along the Kentucky border here. That's because of a cold front that's right behind it here. It's going to be making its way southeast towards us, starting to impact us tomorrow night. But for the most part, we're going to be staying clear and dry tonight, other than just a couple spotty scattered showers or thunderstorms. But for the most part, most of us will be dry. But going on down south into the Caribbean, this is Hurricane Beryl. It is still making its way into the Yucatan Peninsula right now, expected to make landfall by tomorrow morning as a hurricane. It's still weakening right now, but it won't weaken enough for it to be a tropical storm or anything like that. But it will start weakening significantly as it goes over land. It will start running into a lot of shear, a lot of dry air, and it will weaken exponentially. And by the time it makes its way on out towards the western coast of the Yucatan Peninsula here, it'll only be a tropical storm, and it will start making its way on into the Gulf of Mexico, where there is a lot of warm water, a lot of energy to start strengthening this storm again, and it is expected to strengthen back into a Category 1 hurricane by 8 a.m. Monday as it is making landfall on the Texaco coast. This cone of uncertainty does say that it could make landfall really only on Mexico, but it also says that it could make landfall on the Texas coast as well. We are going to have to get a little bit closer in time for us to narrow down where exactly this hurricane will be impacting. In terms of us, though, we are being impacted by a lot of heat right now. We are all in a heat advisory, except for up there in Blairsville, up there in the mountains. You guys aren't in the heat advisory, but everywhere else, we are in the heat advisory, and it is going to be hot today and tomorrow with heat indexes all the way up to 108 degrees expected. Now that is hot, with high temperatures up into the upper 90s and dew points near the mid 70s. It is going to be uncomfortable out there tonight, and it's going to be uncomfortable out there tomorrow. In terms of temperatures, I'll kind of give you an outlook going into your 4th of July celebration night. Here we go, going into 8 o'clock. This is where some of them might try to start, but it's still going to be very, very hot out there. Mid 90s across the board in North Georgia, maybe even a couple pockets of showers cooling them down. As we go into prime time, firework time, as you guys can see, 11 o'clock Thursday night. We're all going to be in the mid 80s, maybe even lower 80s for some of us. That's going to be decent weather, but it's still going to be very humid. So those heat indexes will be well into the 90s going into tonight. And going into your morning time, we're going to be cooling off to a brisk mid to upper 70s. Still going to be very hot tonight. The low is not much of a low at all. We're going to be rebounding very good up into the mid to upper 90s in some regions, especially towards the eastern part of our region. We could be seeing upper 90s tomorrow, and that's where that heat advisory will definitely be bullseye tomorrow. But in terms of northwest Georgia, we're going to be having some rain that'll be moving in, and a little bit more clouds, keeping them a little bit cooler than the rest of the region. I'll time that out for you here. Tonight, we're just going to be seeing a couple scattered, maybe isolated thunderstorms across our region, but nothing too bad, nothing that's going to stop our fireworks shows tonight, that's for sure. Going into Friday, though, late afternoon is what you're going to be seeing here. About 1 o'clock, some of these storms could start making their way into our region. But for most of us, going into 3-4 o'clock is when we're going to be starting to be affected here. This is a pretty impressive line, though, so these storms could pack a punch, unfortunately. Nothing severe as of now, but these storms could provide some pretty heavy downpours, which is needed. Most of us are in a drought in North Georgia, and provide for a pretty nice light show with lightning and thunder, so that'll be a nice add-on to our fireworks show tonight going into tomorrow. And as we go on into 8 o'clock tomorrow, most of those storms will be starting to fade on out, starting to diminish, making their way on into South Carolina and off the coast here. And for the most part, North Georgia will be clearing up going into your Saturday morning with partly cloudy skies. I did say there could be some intense storms out there. Most of that's going to be up to our north. That's where the biggest severe risk is, which is still very, very low in nature. Some of us could see some gusty winds tonight and some pretty heavy downpours. The wind speeds no higher than about 30 to 40 miles per hour going into Friday night with this event. In terms of temperatures, though, we're going to be staying hot and pretty uniform for the next foreseeable future going into next week. It is not going to be very comfortable here in Athens, and it is still going to be really the same story up there in Chattanooga and in Atlanta. In fact, Atlanta looks like they just copied and pasted the temperatures from Sunday all the way to next Sunday. The lows of 74 across the board. But for the most part, we're going to be rebounding into the 90s every day of the week with some showers at least going into Monday and Tuesday. Going to be expected here along your 4th of July weekend. It will most likely be hot and humid. Some people might see some showers, and that will be continuing as you go into Monday and Tuesday. That's it from me, though. Please have a great 4th of July and stay safe, and go Dogs.